Ooh, this chair is a little wobbly, but we're gonna fix it. Welcome to Hack-A-Week. We have 3 of these chairs. They're really nice. We want to put them at our little breakfast bar in the kitchen, but they're pretty wobbly. The joints are starting to come apart. The glue is old and cracked, and well, they can be fixed. We're gonna pop them all apart and get some new glue on there and clamp them back together. So let's get started. So the seat removal is pretty straightforward. There's just 4 screws that hold this turntable-y thing. And that is pretty much it. We just lift it off. We'll set this aside. So how do we get these apart? Well, with a steamer. I've got it warming up right now. This is a McCulloch steamer. I bought this years ago when I had my automotive service shop. I was using this to do detailing on cars. So it's warming up right now. Once it's warmed up, what we are going to do is blast some steam into these joints to help soften up the glue a little bit. It's not really going to dissolve the glue or really make it gooey or anything. It's just going to provide a little heat in there, expand everything a little bit, and then we can knock everything loose with a rubber mallet. Alright, the steamer's warmed up. Let's get some steam in these glue joints. That's pretty much all it's going to take. Just blast away for a while. But all I'm trying to do is just get some steam down into that crack and heat everything up a little, and I think it's just going to make everything come apart a bit easier. After a pretty fair amount of steaming on these, we're ready to start seeing if we can get them apart. So I've got a rubber mallet, just going to give it a good whack, and yes, they are coming apart. So we get the bottom, a little bit on the top. We've got to be careful that we don't hurt anything. The tricky part is hanging on to everything while you smack it. But I don't want to do too much on one side or the other. I could break one of the dowels off, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, that's getting close. There we go. Okay, before I go too much further, what I want to start doing now is labeling all this stuff alphabetically so I can keep track of where it goes back together. As I mentioned, we're going to label it all. So A, B, C, D, and then we've got it labeled here, D, and then on the supports below we got D, so I know what those go there. A goes to A goes to A, B goes to B, B goes to B, 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 etc., etc., etc. Let's get the rest of it apart. So this is like keep on whacking instead of keep on hacking. Gotta be careful because this mallet will dent this wood if I hit it wrongly. I'm trying to keep the face of the hammer squarely on there, not at an angle. Last one. Alright. So now that it's all apart, we've got to do the cleanup. All of this glue that's on here, if you want to call it glue, it's really weird stuff. It isn't white glue, it's some kind of, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's hide glue. Hide glue usually gets soft and goopy, and it's just like the name says, it's made from animal hide. It's a really old glue, but anyway, that's for another video. I've used that stuff before. On the other end, here's another example of it. All of this has got to be scraped away because I'm going to put this together with white glue, aliphatic resin, and I get a better glue joint if I get the wood nice and clean. Also, on all of the braces, the cross pieces at the bottom, all of that stuff's got to get scraped off and cleaned up before we start gluing it and putting everything back together. So I've experimented with a few different things, and this seems to do the best job. Just a wood chisel. Let's get in there and slowly scrape this stuff away. It's all got to come off. It's going to take some time, but as you can see, it will come off. Same thing for the legs. Just scrape it off with the chisel. Works pretty well. And then we'll follow up with a little bit of sandpaper just in the area that I want to glue together, just to make sure I got a good smooth surface and I got all the old glue off. One more step is get all the glue out of all of these holes, and so a little bit of drill action, smaller drill than what the hole is actually. Get in there and move it around a little bit just to be sure all the old glue is out. Everything is cleaned up of the old glue and we're ready to start reassembly. I've got a terry cloth rag here that's a little bit wet, and I have that so that I can wipe off excess glue as I start assembling. So let's see, let's just start with the letters of the alphabet. There's A, and let's see, that's A, this is A, that's gonna go there. So I've got a little glue here. I'm using, well, what is it? Titebond premium wood glue. Love this stuff. Gonna put a little bit on here. I like using a brush. I've got a little more control over how it goes on. And I'm gonna get some down into that hole where the dowel goes. Let's poke it down in there a little bit. Then we're going to take the piece A that's going to go on there. I'm going to coat the dowel liberally, and then we'll get some on the area where it's going to meet up with this. Okay, that all looks good. And we're just going to squoosh it all back together. See the extra glue that's coming out? This is what I want to wipe off right now while it's still wet. You can do it later, but it starts to skin up a little bit, and that just makes it a little bit harder to wipe clean. Okay. So we've got one corner done, and I'm now going to connect it to the top piece so that I've got that here. But before I do that, I just remembered I forgot to clean the top piece, so I got to clean that off. I've got these two bottom pieces on. I'm going to get the top attached and then just work my way around everything. So again, more glue everywhere here. We're down to the last leg now. This is where it gets a little tricky. I've got all the glue joints prepped, and the tricky parts are especially this corner here, because what you've got to do is spread it apart enough to get that one started, then get the other one started. Then get the top one started, and then tap all of those together a little at a time. wipe all that glue off. And the next thing we're going to do is get some clamps on this to squish it all together good and tight. Got these 24-inch clamps that I bought on Amazon. Pretty reasonable. I think I got all 4 for less than 50 bucks. Not bad. They've got some funky reviews. People just like to complain. They work okay. You know, the complaint was the trigger was easier, harder, whatever. I don't know. Sometimes Amazon reviews are just silly. So I'm going to put it down here below this piece because if I put it up on the top, it's going to want to just go up like this because the force is pushing this way. It's going to look for the path of least resistance, which is this taper, so it's going to want to work its way up. So what I'm going to do is put them down below, and these pieces will keep it from trying to work its way upwards. See, they're going to want to drop. That's the tricky part. So I've got to flip this whole thing upside down now. Let's do that. Actually, I think what I'll do is release this one, flip it over this way. Push this one inboard just a little more. Now I could take a square, put it up here, and make sure that I'm actually clamping it in a parallel manner and not a parallelogram. This one's got to go just a little more. I can just watch the square as I do this and see that I'm staying where I need to be. Alright, so now what I gotta do is just keep squishing until I've got these crushed all the way together as far as they can go. I've already done one of these, so this is my second one on the video you're watching. Same thing on the bottom. I'm gonna stay on this side of these so that the clamps don't creep their way upwards. Same thing down here. I want to squish these till I see glue coming out of the glue joints. Then let's wipe off any more excess glue. Gotta check the squareness one more time. Looks good. So now we pretty much just walk away and let the glue cure. So while the other one's drying, let's take a look at this one. This is the one I did before. And you can see how the joints came out. They're okay, they're glued in. There are some gaps, a little bit. I'm not too worried about that. What I really was after was getting the chair stable again and not wobbly. They all look pretty good. Everything in all of these looks just fine. It's a nice chair. Ta-da! There you go. It's a great little chair. They work perfect right here. They're just the right height for your average countertop. Like I said, I'm not really sure where we got these, but this one is now rock solid, and so will the other one be when it's done. And I've got a third one to do, and it's all wrapped up. Nice set of chairs for our kitchen. So that wraps up this one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.